Welcome to ConvHERsations with Kristie, brought to you by ConvHERs, a community where women who lead, build, and grow come together. This is a space for real, unscripted conversations with bold leaders who are creating impact. No fluff, no filters, just honest insights to help you lead well and live fully. Because at ConvHERs, we believe leadership isn't meant to be done alone. I am confident you are going to love it. So let's get started.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode. Y'all, I have been waiting for this one for a while. This is my dear friend, Coach Bob Shenefelt. So excited to have him on this week's episode. So I'm going to turn it immediately over to you, Bob. Can you introduce yourself to everyone?
Sure. Coach Bob, I came up with that name for my business when I first became an implementer, because I started a few businesses, I failed a few businesses, sold a few businesses successfully, and then I decided to become an implementer about 12 years ago, and I had to come up with a name. And I'm known in my community as Coach Bob because of coaching my kids' teams. So even a lot of parents called me Coach Bob. So I'm here to inspire, teach, learn, and coach, and help visionaries to know and act like they matter, and to realize their vision. And then just a little personal, married for 25 years this year to my amazing wife, Cheryl, I've learned so much from her in my life. And then with my daughter, Grace, who's just turned 23, and my son, Nick, that's 19. And I bring that up not only because they're a huge part of my life, but that was probably for 25 years was 80% of my focus. And now that they're living on their own, it wasn't easy, but now kind of recasting my vision is one of the things that I'm working on. But yeah, I love to help people to live the life of their dreams, and starting with me, because I'm still client number one.
I love that. I love that. And you being client number one means that you're really focused on your vision right now, which I'm excited about. So tell me a little bit, Bob, about how do you really manage the dream, the steps it takes to make the dream happen, and then the reality, because that's not always
in reality, right?
Yeah, doesn't always go as smoothly as it does in our thoughts, right?
Right. And that's a great question, because that's been part of my frustration. I was interviewing someone on my podcast the other day, which is Viva La Visionary, and someone asked me the question, how do I deal with the depression of not realizing a vision? And it just stuck me in the heart. And I've realized that I have huge visions, and sometimes, again, those are dreams, and that's part of the vision. And I have beaten myself up a lot. I haven't saved the world yet. I haven't. It's like, okay, dude, take a deep breath. And so it's a great question. I thrive where I can express my vision. And that doesn't have to be to my team or the world even. But as you know, I have with the stuff that I teach from my book, it's to make time for myself, which is the most important person in the world. No offense to my wife. But as I'm stronger, I'm more beneficial to her. So to take time to dream on the whiteboard, I record a lot of my dreams. So at least I hear myself think and feel myself feel. Now, one of the things I'm learning is to not throw that to everyone on my team every day, because then that gets away from the steps and the reality. But to hear myself think, and I'm starting to dip my toe in the water with AI. So I'm very excited about that, where it can help organize my thoughts. Mm-hmm. So, but if I don't get stuff out of here, and some of it's positive, some of it's negative, then I go crazy. I literally, that's my superpower, and also my kryptonite is the power of the brain. So to make time for myself to dream, imagine this great future, and then I get very excited about it. My conscious and subconscious is helping me to say, oh, I should call Kristie for this, or ooh, what about that? And then and as my wife calls it, hold the gold and don't share it with everyone. I run to my wife and say, I got this great idea. And she's like, okay, how does that differ from your great idea 4 minutes ago? But just to let it sit and trust. And so much of my life, and I'm a 9 quick start, a lot of fire. So I just have a lot of energy and passion. And what I'm realizing is as I slow down, the answers become clearer. So that's part of the dream, and part of the steps are the answers that are becoming clear. So learning to meditate a little bit. And I have a few of my own ways to do that. And then there's no right or wrong way, but just to really spend time with myself, and then with whatever comes down, whether it be my dad who passed away years ago, or God, or my head, or my heart. When I slow down, the answers are there, which are some of the steps. And then to have a great integrator that I can dream with, and that we're clear that it's like, these are not action items. I don't need you to do anything. I just need a safe space to hear myself think. And then hopefully, and fortunately, my integrator, Angie, who's amazing, is very good at discernment and asking questions, because not all of my dreams are something to implement today. So helping me to talk it through, because I often will figure out, that doesn't make sense, or maybe not now, but if it's banging up here and I'm not achieving it, I get frustrated. And then the reality, I just don't want to deal with that. That's, but that really is being available to my team, where, hey, here's what we're thinking, and they'll just bash it against me, to say anything that we're missing, because they're the reality. I'm not good at figuring out how to do things, and I literally get in the way. We just had a meeting this morning, and it doesn't make sense for me to be in some of these operational meetings, because I just can't handle it. So I don't know if I've answered your question, but to spend time and make time to dream, to allow, I call it downloading. Often I wake up at 3 a.m. and I used to get pissed because I'm like, I'm going to be tired in the morning. Now I'm like, all right, God, bring it. What do you got? And if then I go back to sleep, great. If I don't, that's okay too. So just, and just slowing down, I think, is probably the main thing.
I couldn't agree more. And especially in a fast-paced world that we live in right now, right, where everything's immediately available. And sometimes I think that we as individuals, especially as visionary leaders who love to dream and love to think about things that we can do and implement, we want it to go fast too. But that slowing down is really, truly a really important step in the process of making sure that we, first of all, that we know and understand what it is that we're looking for in our vision and in our dream, and then being able to share that with everyone else in the appropriate time.
Right. And two things that pop up for me is, I love all the books in the EOS library, but it's funny, Get a Grip. It's a great book, great fable on how to implement EOS. And what I'm realizing is a lot of us visionaries have been gripping so tight. It's just like loosen that grip, and that's a couple-year process sometimes to let go of that, because for 25 years I've been managing everything, and maybe not even very well. But to lighten up that grip, it's just like, and then, EOS is amazing. But what's interesting is that art and that science of the balance of letting go of the vine, but not abdicating and leaving. I was speaking with a visionary the other day that is like, I know my team's going in the wrong direction. And when I go to make a suggestion, they throw out the EOS trump card and say, you're not allowed to, do an end run and he was like, okay, what is that? And that's an interesting point where can I be involved and where shouldn't I be? But that takes some time, and that takes a great integrator visionary relationship. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times I think, that's one of our superpowers, is we can see things that sometimes others can't, especially because, when I think about the visionary leader, I really truly think that they are focused on 3 years and beyond, right? Yep. That's where they love to dream. They love to be in that time frame. When you pull me back into 1 year, or even worse, pull me back into today, like that's where it's frustrating. But because we do live in that world of 3 years and beyond, we can see things that are happening today, how it's either going to impact that 3 years and it's right on track for exactly what we're thinking and dreaming, or we can see, big red flag, that is not going to get us to where we're going. Yeah. So Bob, I would love to know, what was your advice to that person?
So I appreciate that. It's to work. He thinks he has the right integrator. So I propose to work with someone, and I'm a possibility. They haven't made that decision, but to really be clear, because again, that visionary integrator thing is so important, where I actually feel I don't need to be in the L10 and I kind of get in the way, but to be able to have a place to vent and to dream with the integrator, to say, I think this is going to go wrong. And they may say, hey, come on in. So I think part of it, I think the biggest thing, my experience share was, bring in a third party to make sure the two of you are on the same page and you have a cadence, and you're not telling her what to do. You're saying, here's my concern. And then often, again, they'll be like, I got it. I mean, I was already on it, or I'm aware of it. But it really is building the confidence of the integrator and the trust between the two of them. Because again, he's like, if I ignore it, there was a mistake on one of their projects that could have injured someone. And he's like, I was afraid to step in. So it's so again, and you've dealt with this on me in the past, is I just need someone to say, Kristie, this is going to screw up. What's going on? It's like, okay, dude, take a deep breath. We got it covered, or thank you. But again, I need a place to vent and to get it out of my head. And so if I just say, and I've done this before too, it's like, oh, I don't want to interrupt. And again, it's to learn, okay, if someone screws up on this deal, it's not that big of a deal. If we screw up on this one, it is a big deal. So again, there's that discerning, that D word.
I love it. I love it. And
sorry, one other thing I want to share. I tell people something, and as I've been told, I inspire people, and people are like, yes, but we didn't even know what he talked us into. And so it's to be clear. And my biggest, I don't have my phone around. Good. I don't have my phone. I like that. But I do a lot of audios. So an audio to my integrator, or here's my vision for this. And again, that way, then it's not, because sometimes if you roll your eyes at me, I'll be like, oh, this is stupid. But when I unfilter, share that, and again, to be really clear on, this is just a brainstorm. I don't even need response, or I'd like to do this in 3 months, or can we do it today? Because people are like, well, I didn't know where you were going. And I've had someone say, well, everything's urgent. And I'm like, okay, didn't I say this is whenever you get a chance, or in 3 weeks? Well, Bob, you're so passionate. It seems like everything's urgent. So it's like, okay, so I've been much clearer on, okay, if you can do this by next week, that's fine. So to be clear on expectations, because often I'm not clear.
No, I love that. It reminds me of what I refer to as the visionary sandbox, right? Like, hey, can we come in this sandbox and play right now? And that's all we're doing.
Yep.
Right? We're playing. So I need you to play with me too, right? I don't need you to be taking notes on how we're going to do this, but let's just think about these things. Let's play with what it could look like. And once we take it out of sandbox and we move it into another area, that's when we can start getting focused on, what it looks like and how we do it. But my integrator was doing it too, where I was sharing, the future. I was like, I see it crystal clear. And all of a sudden I could see her body language, and her, like I could see her facial expression. She was going into, how am I going to do this mode, right? And I'm like, no, time out, come back and play with me. We're still playing. We're still in the same box.
Right. Well, and with the audio, it's not just saying, hey, in 3 years, we're going to have 10,000 people doing this. It's the emotion behind it. So imagine it's kind of like the 3-year picture exercise in EOS. It's like, hey, we take a time machine, and 3 years from now, imagine we're toasting each other, and the clients are coming up and hugging us, and they're sharing how not only is their business rocking, but they're happier at home because they now have balance, whatever. And so it's that emotion then gets my team interested. So so it's not just the linear, it's also the emotional side.
Agree. Because the emotional side is what keeps us going too, right? It's all those feel great things. Putting my integrator hat on, some of the great things are the check marking off the task list, and I love that piece. But as visionary, man, knowing that I'm making an impact, making a difference, that's what matters so much to me.
Right. And then another point that one of my clients was sharing with me years ago that I learned, it's okay, again, we're here to let go of the vine. And as you know, I talk a lot about living life beyond the vine, which we could talk about that separate. But when people are like, well, you're always nagging me as the visionary. And he's like, but brag, tell me when you got something done. Because if I ask you to do something and I don't hear about it, I'll ask you again. Well, I didn't want to bug you. No, brag. I like that. Brag upward. I love getting texts, and it's FYI, I followed up with Kristie and she's in, or this didn't happen. I like to know what's going on. So that to me is not bugging me. But if you want me to be in that visionary seat, keep me in the loop, because so did you get this done? Oh yeah, I did that last Tuesday. Okay, well tell me.
Yeah, exactly.
Brag about what you did. I love it.
Close that loop for me. Close that loop for me.
Thank you. That's a great way to put it. Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, I say that all the time right now. Close the loop,
Yes.
like we
Thank you.
get
There's
into
an aha.
silos.
I like that. Yes.
We get into silos sometimes, and we just get into the motion of doing them. Sometimes we forget to say, hey,
Yeah.
it did get done. So yeah, I love it. I love
And
it.
for me to close the loop with other people. You know,
Mhm.
I've asked for something and then I went there. If they need me to do something, it's like, hey, I got that done. And they're like, oh, great. You know, it's, yeah. So close the loop. I like it.
Agree. Well, so tell me what else is on top of your mind? I know, the book Unscatter the Chatter has been really, really impactful for a lot of people. What is the premise of your book? What does Unscatter the Chatter even mean?
So EOS is a operating system for entrepreneurs. iMatter, our company, is an operating system for life. And with our main focus being visionaries, as I wrote it for me, and I wrote it with my wife, and she has an integrator mind. She doesn't like to be an integrator, but she's really good at discerning and distilling and wording it where people actually get it. So we wrote the book for me. And basically what we're talking about, what's the issue, is I have often been called, I don't know if any other visionaries have heard this or people who work with visionaries, but I've been called scattered. And so it's like, I'm over here, and I kind of thrive in that and can handle a lot of that, either anxiety or risk or whatever it is, but it doesn't always suit me well. And so there's a lot of chatter coming at us from the outside, whether it be from the TV, media, parents, kids, whatever it might be, and comparisons, and most of it's not positive. And then I don't know about any of you out there, but there's a voice in here, which, and I know you have a name for that, but there's a voice in here that is not usually positive. I should have done that. Why didn't I do that? Am I ever going to get this done? And so with iMatter, to help people to know and act like they matter, we developed a system. So Gino Wickman, the founder of EOS, and I have been best friends for almost 30 years. And we've learned so much from EO and Strategic Coach and all these other programs out there. He gleaned a lot of it for business. I gleaned a lot of it similarly, but for the personal side. And so I used to avoid structure like the plague. And so Gino taught me that structure around who matters most and what matters most actually allows more time for creativity and for magic and for dreaming and whatnot. And so there is real value to some structure. So we created a structure for me that helped me to realize what matters most, clarify who I am, and to follow my North Star. So similar to a business operating system, what's your why, what, and how? What's my why, what, and how? So we developed tools over the last 15 years that I've been using and coaching other visionaries on. And it's kind of cool how well it works. And it's there's common vocabulary around it. And so it's a way to ultimately elevate your mind and expand your impact. So my mind isn't always positive. And again, my mind, my ego often is trying to keep me safe. So, well, don't go too crazy because Kristie may laugh at you or her audience may think you're nuts. So just don't go there. And that's some of that negative chatter, as opposed to, hey, it's your thought, it's your belief, it's your experience, and sharing that. And as I elevate my mind and kind of letting go, I can't even think of the author right now. So anyways, the book Letting Go talks about the different levels of emotions and consciousness. So if I wake up in the morning and I'm in survival mode and I've got to get these things done, I'm at a lower level of consciousness. So when I make time to have gratitude and think about this, imagining this great future, I raise to a higher vibration. And then when you and I talk, I can help you raise yours and we raise each other's. And then literally we're helping the world to do it as well. So as I elevate my mind and get out of the chatter and the survival mode and the day-to-day and the urgent to really go to more of the important things, that expands my impact for each interaction I have. And so that's ultimately, it's principles, practices, and tools, kind of similar to EOS, but for the personal side, that when I make, again, if I'm not going to spend time with my leadership team in my business to talk about who are we, where are we going, and how we're going to get there, how are we going to get there? So the same thing for the personal side. So ultimately, we help people to create their, what we call impact planner, which is your life operating system and your plan for one's life.
Mm. I love that. And yes, you're right. I do have a name for my inner voice. Betty oftentimes shows up and is chattering. So
Right.
it's great to have tools and resources to be able to quiet her. Because I think one thing, Bob, when I hear people saying, the whether you call it imposter syndrome or, the negative chatter, whatever you refer to it as, a lot of people are saying, I want it to stop.
Yes.
Right? And I don't want it to stop. What
No.
I want is, I don't want Betty screaming at the top of her lungs all day long.
Right.
I want her to whisper to me, and for me to be able to control that volume, because I find her motivating. When she's saying I can't do something, or who are you? Why do you think they're going to listen to you? I'm like, well, watch me.
Yeah.
Right. And then I show up as even more powerful, like in my truth, and able to really stand and have that conversation with myself. And so, yeah, it's amazing what the inner chatter can do.
And it's to, again, not to stop it. And I don't think it can be stopped, but to become one with it. And I talk about shifting the conversation. So there is a conversation going on up there. And so why not be a part of that conversation and to listen to it and also shift it? And I like, I forget who said, I invite my ego in for tea. It's like, I don't hate my ego. I love my ego. And thank you for trying to protect me. But I am going to take this risk after thinking about what you were chattering about.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, and it's a safe space for me to hear myself think. And so a lot of our tools are answering a question, but it's also the why behind that, and then the next step. And so it's a bit of a Trojan horse, because sometimes I have a hard time getting to my heart. My family shoved emotions down. We're the positive family. It's like, well, I'm a little sad. Well, you've got this and you've got that. So I'm like, oh no, I don't want to be sad. But then I'm realizing not only am I shoving the lower vibrational energies and emotions down, I'm shutting down some of the joy and the love. And so as I am allowed to think about, oh my God, am I going to go broke? It's like, okay, if everything in the world goes wrong in the next couple of years, yeah, I might go broke. And if I'm focused on that, but the why is, I don't want to lose my freedom. I don't want to, be dependent on things. It's like, I'm not. So, and again, that's a future thing. And I'm imagining this, and then the past I can learn from, but I just want to be present now. And so that's a safe space to hear myself. And then I do audios to my team, so they get to hear some of my answers, and it's unfiltered, which takes a while to get to that point. But they get to hear what's going on in my head and my heart, where again, I'm kind of Trojan horsing into the mind, and they're like, that's fine. But then the emotions come out. But then I'm sharing that with the team, and then the team is like, okay, there's an issue for the L10, or here's something you can delegate. And it's amazing, because often if I have an idea, then I'm like, well, I'm not going to tell Kristie about it. It's not that big of a deal. Well, the ship has already sailed if I already sent that audio.
Well, that's very true.
Right?
Yeah, it's out there now.
There we go. Right.
Yeah. How does your team respond to that?
It took a little while, and not everyone was right for my team. As you know me pretty well, I am very emotional, and if I wear my heart on my sleeve, and if I don't share it, again, that's where it gets built up, where it's like, oh, Kristie bugged me here or did this. Okay, let's just get rid of her. Okay, that's not fair to you or to me. But if I can be open and honest to say, hey, I was a little frustrated that this didn't happen, and I was probably part of the issue, so let's talk about it. So it took probably a year and a few people transitioning in and out. And then my wife is on my team for I share my weekly and my daily check-ins. And I used to be like, okay, well, if I share this, she may hear this. And it's like, okay, does she matter most? Of course she does. All right, well, do I have action items around things? So it actually helped my marriage to say, hey, I love my work, and that's great. But and again, for me, the action items aren't just for work, it's for my life, and so it's like, hey, if my wife matters most, the why is because I love her and I want her to know how much she's loved and how much I appreciate her. So next step is surprise her with a rose and take her out for dinner. And she's like, wow, you're acting, did you do something wrong? No, I realized that you mattered most. And oh, by the way, here, and I'm risking that she wants that and loves it. And fortunately she does.
Yes, I can definitely see that. Well, Bob, I love that you've created something that's so powerful for you that you've been able to share with others. And I had no doubt this was going to be a fun conversation. So thanks for coming and sharing. If people want to reach out to you and connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So imatter.com is our website, and my email is bob@imatter.com. So IMATTER. And again, the stronger I am, and when I act like I matter, the more people I can support. So yeah, it may sound selfish, but it's I matter. So yeah, bob@imatter.com.
I love it. I love it. Well, friend, you know, I'd love to round out all of our episodes with 3 questions. The first one is diving into honor, right? Who is a woman of a past generation that you would love to honor?
Well, my mom is 93 and alive, and I'm honoring her right now. I actually just did a little piece of art that I gave to her last Saturday on the 10 things that she has taught me. And so that, but we say a past generation, I mean, and that came from my grandma, which was my mom's mom. She lived to 2 weeks before 100 years old, and really fortunately got to know her fairly well before she passed. And she was pretty coherent, and she grew up, I mean, she was born in 1899. I mean, so like, think about all the changes. She graduated from college. Not many girls did back then. To hear literally some of the things she went through as a kid. So even her mom passing when she was like 4 or 3. And so they literally had the casket in her house, and she climbed into the casket and she got yelled at, and she was just trying to go be with her mother. I mean, so, and I don't say that for victimization or anything, but the fact that she had to overcome all those things, and she was still one of the most wise women ever for me growing up. And so I was just honored and blessed. And so it's interesting because my mom now reminds me of my grandma because she's now 93, but I honor both of them so much. They've been so inspirational.
Oh, I love that. Grandparents, and grandmas just have a special place in our heart. That's for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What about empower? Who is a woman of a current generation that's in leadership or business today that either you hope to empower or that empowers you to be your absolute most?
And I'm not doing this just to suck up, but my wife, Cheryl, because she will see this. So Cheryl, no. But the reason she comes up is she is a leader to our community, and with our schools that our kids have been in, and with our kids, and with me. And she was the one who, when we met, I was very driven on success, and net worth and everything. And she's like, "You're so focused on doing. What about being?" And I'm like, "You don't get it. This is what this world is all about." And she helped me to realize I didn't get it. And so to be able to have her in a leadership position, and now with our kids grown up, we are kind of like, okay, what do we do now? And I'm so excited to create the next stage of our relationship. And so again, she's very connected spiritually, very intuitive, and she's coming back into that now that because for 25 years, her main focus was the kids. But yeah, she's been a huge inspiration to me and so many other people. And she creates an experience where people feel heard, and it's just a very memorable experience, whether it be a card she sends, a gift, a dinner, one of our retreats that we do, because she goes on a lot of our retreats with my clients, actually.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that you honored her. What about inspire? Who is a woman of a future generation that you hope to inspire?
This is an easy one. It's my daughter, Grace. When she was, we did Cheryl did a natural childbirth. I was there, but I had very little to do with the actual childbirth. But we did not know the sex of our first or second child, and we didn't know their names. And I had a CD from Conversations with God, kind of a soundtrack, and Amazing Grace came on right after she was born. And we're like, that is Amazing Grace. And she is so amazing. And she's got, we're very different. We have similar core values, but she's a rule follower. She has an engineer brain. I mean, very opposite to me, but she, kind of found God. And when we got locked down hard, she really struggled with that, like a lot of us did. And so all of a sudden she realized that she was connected to God, as we all can be and or are. And so I would call her often and say, or even Cheryl and I'd be like, how would Grace handle this? And she handles it with grace. And so we joke. I called her a few years ago, and I'm more of a spiritual person. I don't know if you call it new age. I don't like to be labeled, but I'll be like, oh, it was synchronistic how this happened. And she's like, well, that's God, Dad. I'm like, well, I know. So literally when, my buddies and I do retreats, a lot of people will be like, well, that's God, Dad. So I want to write a book with Grace, because we come at it from a little bit of a different angle as far as spirituality, but it's so similar. And she and her husband, she got married last summer, they live in the moment, and they know who they are, and they don't check their texts. We're like, they don't respond. Well, they're actually enjoying their time together rather than looking at their cell phones. And so they're just such an inspiration to Cheryl and I and so many other people. And she then switched from mechanical engineering, where she already had an amazing internship, and they offered her another one. She could have made a lot of money, but it would have been in healthcare or the defense companies or whatever. And she's like, I want to help kids. So she switched after 3.5 years to be an elementary school teacher, but then using some of the science. So she follows her heart. She follows her direction from God, and just so inspirational.
Oh, I love that. Grace is very special, that's for sure. Well, Bob, thank you. It was so much fun having you on this episode, y'all. I hope you've enjoyed it as well. This was a fun conversation for sure. I hope you enjoy, and hope you have a great week, and I'll see you again next one. Have a good one.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of ConvHERsations with Kristie. I hope you're walking away with a few nuggets of inspiration, maybe a new perspective, or just a reminder that you're not alone in your leadership journey. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend, drop us a comment, or tag us with your favorite takeaway. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep showing up, keep leading with heart, and keep building the kind of life and leadership that feels true to you. I'll see you in the next